as possible from my perspective. And that's what I did. So I started off with that, then moved on to other things, and just always try to find out, like, if there's something that people want, how can I help them get it? And then I started to apply that to online as well, where, if there was a platform that a lot of people were on and they wanted certain products, how could I sell space on that platform to someone else who wanted to get their product in front of those people and do a nice value exchange? So that was then how I kind of forayed into online marketing.
Welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast, where we bring to you the most successful, happy, fulfilled gentlemen from around the world who have been able to conquer themselves, their life, their marriage, and their businesses. You will be learning from four-dimensional gentlemen who have cracked the code to the science of having it all. The question is, how can married entrepreneurs with kids become gentlemen, achieve true freedom, and build a successful, happy, and fulfilled life, marriage, and business? This show will give you the answer for that. My name is Alex Ramirez, and I'm your host, and you're welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, Fulfillment Talk podcast. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of the Gentleman Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast. As always, I have an incredible guest that I'm very excited to get to talk to, connect with, and learn from, especially because he's like big on marketing, which I love. And before I introduce this gentleman to you, though, I just want to give a big shout out to all of you who have been leaving comments, reviews, likes, and, on all the major podcasting platforms, Apple, Google, Spotify, and to those who have been watching on YouTube as well, thank you very much. You are the reason why we do what we do. And I just want to ask you for a small favor. I just want to ask for you to, if you get something out of this interview, if you get some value, some type of insight, information, a new skill, or the inspiration to go out and implement something and make some progress towards your goals, I want to ask you to please share this episode with 10 people. Share it on social media, share the link on Facebook, Instagram, send it to your friends. Share it with 10 people, since this is how we grow. This is how we're able to share our message and motivate, inspire, and bless other entrepreneurs so that they can achieve their goals and change their life. So today I have Kim Barret. He's a world-renowned $1 million marketing strategist with a focus on Facebook ads. Facebook, right? Facebook ads, obviously. And Kim is an international speaker and trainer. He has taught marketing around the world and helping business grow to 6, 7, and even 8 figures. Kim is the founder and CEO of Your Social Voice, an Australian-based digital marketing agency established in 2015. And he helps business get heard on social media, and most importantly, build engagement, generate more leads, and more sales. So I'm excited for this one. Kim, thank you very much for being here, man, making some time, even though we were having some technical issues right now. I really appreciate you, and you are welcome, man.
Thank you so much for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. So, man, the first thing that I do with my guest is I tell them to walk us through their entrepreneurial journey in 75 seconds or less.
75 seconds or less. That's a hard one, man. All right. I'll give my best go, though.
Yeah, awesome.
So for me, like, my entrepreneurial journey started off when I was very, very young, buying Pokemon cards, buying the Pokemon game, selling it to other people for a profit, because I had something that other people wanted. I had access to getting the games, the cards that a lot of other people couldn't get when they were young. So for me, that was the first experience that I had of, buying and selling and using leverage, where it was like, oh, if I could get more than one card and more than one sale from one person, then that was a win for me. So that's what I really went after, was trying to figure out how could I get what people wanted and get it into their hands as smoothly and easily as possible from my perspective. And that's what I did. So I started off with that, then moved on to other things, and just always try to find out, like, if there's something that people want, how can I help them get it? And then I started to apply that to online as well, where, if there was a platform that a lot of people were on and they wanted certain products, how could I sell space on that platform to someone else who wanted to get their product in front of those people and do a nice value exchange? So that was then how I kind of forayed into online marketing, was applying that same thing I learned as a young little kid at 10 years old, to then, like, how can I bring that into the digital world, into the online world, and leverage it from that perspective as well.
Awesome. Great, man. So let's see. What was the strategy that you used again?
So I was just looking at, like, what people wanted and what I had access to, and how could I be the bridge between the two of them.
Cool. Which is what business is all about, right?
100%.
So simple, man. Right. And yeah, it's so simple. Right. So what do you think it's so complicated? Like, niche message offer. That's what I had a big problem with, up until like this year. But yeah, like it's not hard. It's so simple to do. And, yet again, so simple not to do, right? Get really clear on what your niche is, like who is it that you're trying to market to, right? Get really clear on what's your message, what is it that you're trying to communicate, and then get really clear on what you're offering, right? So I just got on a call with one of my clients like 2 days ago, and he literally, he was like complaining that he is not making any sales, but he doesn't have an offer. Like, what the hell, right? So simple.
That's what you would think it would be simple. But again, most people really overcomplicate it for themselves. And because as well, they think that they're going to cut out a portion of the market. So if you go, cool, I have a very specific niche that I want to work with, I then am not going to sell to anyone else. But what a lot of people get wrong is like you can have a business niche and a marketing niche. And obviously I'm from a marketing background. When we're looking at the niche for marketing, it's just so that you can have a poignant and very specific message to the marketplace. You can sell to 65 different niches. I really don't mind from the delivery side of things, as long as you can handle that. But from your front end, it needs to specifically talk to one person. And that's only because marketing these days has to be like that. Because if you pull out your phone and go on Facebook, on Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, or whatever, you have a customized experience. It's completely customized to you. So your marketing message needs to be the same. You can't be a generalist like then you've like being a billboard or a radio ad or a TV ad. That has to appeal to everyone. But you're on a platform where people are having a very specific message tailored to them. So you kind of have to go down that avenue. Otherwise, you're just going to be noise in a sea of more noise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's see. And I see a lot of people having problems with like those fundamentals. Like it's like something like very fundamental thing. Like if you build like no matter how much money you invest into a business, if you don't have those fundamentals right, it won't take off, right? And if it does, you'll probably have to work really, really hard at it and to maintain it. So, man, how like what do you say to people? Like, how do you help them to get clear on those fundamentals, on the foundation of their business?
Look, it can be hard because a lot of people get stuck in certain ways of doing things. They get stuck in a way that they think is going to be the right way. And it's like, like I always say to people, I really don't mind. It's like, I'm just on the side of helping you achieve your goals. If you know what your goals are, I can help you achieve them. If you want to go a different route, that's cool. But I can't, like, if it's not a route that I recommend, I really can't help from that perspective. But the big thing that I show people, especially because most of the time they've come to me using one of my channels, like it might be from a Facebook ad or an Instagram ad or my email database, so that I put what I say into practice. So I always give them the example. It's like the reason why you're working with me is because I follow the same principles and fundamentals that I'm trying to teach you. It's been proven time and time again from the 1900s up until now. The same strategies, the same principles apply. You've just got to make sure that you're using and leveraging them. So for me, I always get them to distill it down, make it easier, make it simpler, and just be like, great, how can we make your offer irresistible? How can we make sure that the copy and the messaging that you use speaks to a very specific person? It's easier to write copy that speaks to one specific person than to be super general and make it amazing. It's much harder that way, because if you're talking to one person, like if my ideal person is you, and I'm like, hey, if this is what you're dealing with and this is the problems that you have, I can be very specific to you, and I can set myself up for a success with that. Because if I'm talking to one person, I can get into their head. I can know what their problems are, fears, frustrations, all those sorts of things. If you're trying to do that with the entire population, it's almost impossible. And then once, like, if you go through that process and you can identify it and you can know what their fears, thoughts, frustrations are, what keeps them up at night, what do they want to be like, where are they now, where do they want to get to? And I normally take people through a bit of a process doing that. Then I was like, would you want to sign up for that? Would you want to learn more about that? Would you want to purchase that? And they're like, yeah, well, yeah. And I was like, that's wwhy we do it like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you have a strategy to be able to get clear on, what people want? So because I found a strategy that I want to share with you, but I want to see what you say.
So I do a couple of different things. So the first one that I do, I call it the stakeout method. So the stakeout method is like, I imagine that it's like you're in an old school car with binoculars outside their house, like peering through the window. That's the way that I like to think about it, is like, what are they doing? What are they watching? Who are they speaking to? Like, how are they going about their day? Like, what do they have going on in their life? What do they want to have going on in their life? What's their average day like? How do they consider themselves compared to their neighbors, their friends, their other people in business, whatever it might be? And if you can delve really deep into that and understand all these things, like for me, that's where you can get really, really clear on it, really clear on how to articulate things as well. So we have like I think it's about 10-page doc that we go through with people to pull all of that information out. And it's so much easier to do when you're thinking about one person. Again, it's almost impossible if you're doing it like trying to think of everyone.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. So, I recently found a strategy to actually to implement that same thing that you're talking about, right? And it's with podcasting, man. Right. So I'm helping someone right now build a podcast targeting their ideal audience, right? So it's a mindset coach that helps salespeople, and we're interviewing a bunch of salespeople, right? And like the podcast has a purpose, right? To like help people become better at sales and close more deals and make more money, right? That's the purpose of the podcast. But then at the same time, like this guy is building a network of a bunch of his ideal clients, people who can become his clients, and at the same time, he's asking them about their problems and what they want and their goals, right? And we're doing this through podcasting.
It works. It's just, and same as like, if you already had a client database, the ideal way is like interview them. Go and take your clients out for coffee, for lunch, for dinner, whatever it might be, and just ask them, and just like most people, again, simple thing to like, you'd be like, cool, just ask people. That's why they used to call them, focus groups and things like that, where they bring people together and do it. But if you already have a client or more than one client, bring them together, ask them, like find out, and you'll probably be surprised at how easily, especially when it's in a more relaxed setting where you're not sitting there like with a glass wall in front of them and like trying to take notes on everything, just general conversation, like how deep you'll be able to get into the insights from them.
Yeah. So, all right. So you started very young. I also started very, very young, as an entrepreneur. I live in a border town with Mexico and the US, and I used to go to school in the US, but I lived in Mexico. So I would cross back and forth every single day. And that's why I never learned how to speak English, because I never had to. And I would sell, the kids in the US, all the things that they wanted from Mexico, right? Like at 11 and 12, chips and candy and soda and stuff like that. And then 13 and 14, I was selling like virtual reality glasses, smart watches, all of those things that were starting to come up. And I didn't know about Amazon, because if I had known about Amazon, man, it would have been a different story. But yeah. And then started selling cars as well. And 14, at 14 selling cars, I did more money in 6 months than what my like parents and all the adults that I knew did in like a year. And then I went down another road from 14 to 18, right? And then I got back on track. But so, you found that insight, right? Like that you could make money by, going with people and finding out what they wanted, and then just like giving it to them. And then, you grew up and you grew your digital marketing agency to like 7 figures. So how did that happen, bro?
Yeah, I mean, like it was a bit painful to begin with, because it, like as all businesses have, it's like there's lots of things that you do that you look back on now and be like, probably shouldn't have done those things. Like probably shouldn't have taken those clients on, or accepted that sort of deal, or had those staff, or whatever it might have been. That's why hindsight's always amazing. But when I first started, I said, like, first protocol, I was trying to do what everyone told me I should have done, which was like go to university, then go and get a job and all those sorts of things, which is cool. But they don't tell you when you're at university. Well, this is like I'm speaking from an Australian perspective anyway. It's like you go through university, you learn all these things, and then they're like, great, you'll be able to apply and get a graduate job. And there's like 50,000 other people that graduate at the same time as you. I'm like, cool. Like this, there's no real way for me to differentiate myself. And then I started trying to apply in all these different places. And they're like, what experience do you have? I was like, well, I've been working, but I have my degree. That's like what you want, right? And then they're like, yeah, but what experience do you have? I was like, well, isn't this how I get experience? I'm applying for a job to get experience. Like, this is how I do it, isn't it? And then they're like, oh no, you're probably not right for this, blah, blah, blah. So I was started playing around online. My brother and I started a supplement company where we were selling supplements, again, because we wanted supplements like protein, pre-workout, all this sort of stuff. And people at our gyms and where we went, they all wanted supplements too. So I was like, well, if I can get it wholesale cheap, I'll sell it to them and let them buy it, and that will cover our costs of getting our supplements. So started playing around with some online stuff with that, and then just started speaking to more people, looking at growing a business. I didn't know it was going to be this business. And I was looking at, and they're like, how are you getting customers and clients? I was like, I just do some stuff online, run a few ads here on Facebook and do a few banner ads and all this sort of stuff. And they're like, oh, could you do that for us? Like, could you help us with that? And I was like, sure, I'm sure I could figure it out. So started playing with ads for other people, started helping them grow their businesses. And then got to the point where I was working in a business with my now brother-in-law, was working in his company, helping him. He did like mindset, NLP trainings, things like that. So I was learning at the same time, and I was speaking for him and teaching his clients marketing also. And then I was like, well, probably have to decide, do I want to go and do more marketing, or do I want to go and do more speaking and be a trainer from a mindset perspective? And marketing was like the hands down winner for me. So I was like, okay, I've got to double down here. So started what's now Your Social Voice, and started bringing on clients, trying to find clients, which was very difficult in the beginning because most businesses are relatively easy to market, but when you're marketing, it's kind of hard, right? Yeah. It's a lot more sophisticated. You have to cut through a lot more noise because probably the hardest thing that I found to market is marketing itself, because there's so many other people doing it. People think they already know about it, and you've got to be able to cut through the noise. And it's probably most competitive in comparison to most other industries. Like any other industry is a walk in the park compared to marketing. So that was very difficult for me in the beginning to try and figure out how to do it, because I could do it for everyone else's businesses, but trying to find the differentiator for us as a marketing company and how we help people took a fair amount of time. So it took me probably the first year to get good at doing that, to be able to differentiate ourselves. And then was to the point where I was like, great, now I need to bring on some support staff. I need to start bringing on some more team to help support what I'm doing and help me grow and grow the team as well. So that's how it then all kind of started and kicked off, and then started recruiting more people, finding more people to help me, and slowly growing Your Social Voice into what it is today.
Awesome. It's like selling sales programs, right? Like I once got on a sales call with a guy who was trying to sell me a sales program, and I didn't like how he was trying to sell me, so I didn't buy his program.
Yeah. That's right. It's a tough one, right?
Yeah, man. So let's see. So it's crazy, right? So like you, man, like my business is like helping people with their podcast, right? And but not only that, not only do I help people with their podcast, right? We combine podcasting with a rare concept that I call the Club Track, to build them a multi-million-dollar network of people who can become their clients, who can put them in front of hundreds of their ideal clients with their coaching courses, speaking, and books, and who can help them achieve bigger goals faster with less effort, right? And I never meant to do this. So like the way that I started my business is like the modern gentleman. I was like 20-year-old, spent a year like jumping on more than 60. I jumped on more than 60 sales calls. 20-year-old trying to pitch 30 to 45-year-olds on, coaching to grow their businesses without sacrificing time, health, and relationships. You might guess how that went. Didn't went well. And I was like, I'm so committed to my purpose, man. And I feel it inside. And I was like, damn, like this is not working. Like, what do I do? Right. So like, if I'm not able to make sales, I'm at least going to start a podcast interviewing other people that are like the modern gentleman, right? People who I want to be like and do the things that they're doing and have the life that I want to have. And, that might help me get there faster. And at the same time, it's going to help me fulfill my purpose of whoever listens and watches my podcast, they'll be able to get insights to become a modern gentleman. So I started my podcast. Hey, sorry for the interruption. Real quick, do you want to know how I've been using my podcast to build a multi-million-dollar network with over 100 7, 8, and 9-figure entrepreneurs, reach hundreds of my ideal clients with my message, coaching, service, and podcast, get invited to speak on 4 stages in the last 2 months alone, through my own events, and have over 100 successful entrepreneurs being willing to speak at my events, become a millionaire in 1 year, get mentored by multimillionaires, and achieve goals that I thought were going to take me 10 years to achieve in 1 year, and ultimately get unstuck and make quantum leaps of progress in my business and life with less than 1 hour of work just by being myself? If you answered yes to any of those, I just want to invite you to a free training showing you how I've been able to build a multi-million-dollar network that is helping me achieve bigger income goals faster with only 1 hour of speaking and just being myself. To be honest, I thought I was going to be a multi-millionaire, speak on stages, throw my own events, and live a successful, happy, and fulfilled life of growth and impact in 10 years from now. That seemed so far away, but my podcast has been able to help me do that in less than 6 months. I'm actually doing all of that this year at the age of 21 with my podcast. I'm reaching thousands of people with my message, my service, my podcast, my coaching. I've gotten booked to speak on 4 stages in the last 2 months. And on these stages, I'm going to be getting in front of hundreds of my ideal clients, making roughly around 15 to 30K plus per event. Not only that, I have a network of over 100 high-level, multi-million-dollar entrepreneurs who have all agreed to speak at my events. Getting clients is a problem of the past. I've gotten the opportunities to learn from billionaires, and I'm collapsing decades of time, and I'm literally achieving what I thought was going to take me 10 years to achieve in 1 year. All of this because I use podcasting as a networking tool, and I leveraged a rare concept called the cloak track. And I want the exact same thing for you. Just imagine where you could be in 1 year from now if you get this free training right now. That is why I'm inviting you to this training. On this short training, you're going to learn how a small group of purpose-driven entrepreneurs, authors, coaches, course creators, and speakers have combined podcasting with this rare concept called the cloak track to build a multi-million-dollar network, reach thousands of their ideal clients with their message, books, courses, coaching, make an extra $118,800, get booked on 10 stages, and build a successful network of entrepreneurs who speak on their stage, all of this in under 6 months. I'm going to walk you through the 4 steps to make this work. Step number 1, alignment. Getting clear on who you want to be, what you want to do, your goals, your purpose, and aligning all of this with building your podcast and your ideal podcast guest. Step number 2, leveraging the cloak track to find your ideal podcast guest and never running out of them. Step number 3, leveraging the cloak track to close an interview with anyone, no matter how rich, famous, or out of your league they may seem. And step number 4, the content machine. The content machine is the key to tapping into other people's audiences. And I'm going to show you all of those 4 steps. The link to access this free training is in the description of this video. Click on it and go watch this training right now so that you can learn how you can too build a multi-million-dollar network that helps you achieve bigger goals faster and with less effort. Note, this training is only available to 18 people, so act right now, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this episode. Bye-bye. 6 months ago, I have over 115 interviews right now. I ended up, building a really cool system. I have a team now, and now, I'm going to hit 7 figures by the end of the year.
That's awesome, man. Well done.
So like that, it's just crazy. Like how, like I didn't meant to, like I just started out of passion, right? So how do you marketing, man?
It's very hard, as I said. So the big thing that, like, if anyone is a marketer ever, they should know this book, which is like the Bible. It's called Breakthrough Advertising.
Wait. What is it called?
Breakthrough Advertising.
Okay.
Right. So this is like the Bible. This is like the history book. This is how I, it's like I don't judge people, but I judge marketers if they don't know that book, because it's like the OG, it's the original. But in that, there's a couple of different principles, and one of them is called market sophistication. And what that basically goes through is like there's 5 different stages of market sophistication. How sophisticated a market is, which is really how much advertising and marketing they're exposed to from a sophistication standpoint. They give examples of like health and fitness and like even like shampoo and conditioners and things like that. They give some really great examples in there. But basically, the more sophisticated a market is, i.e. the more exposed to marketing messages, the more you have to be able to identify what your unique mechanism is. So levels like 3, 4, and 5 are all about this mechanism, which is like, how can you stand out? So for example, in fitness, there was like get fit, then there was like lose weight, then there was like lose weight fast, then there was like the unique mechanisms, which are things like
Keto.
P90X, Beachbody, keto, F45, all these things. It's like they are still just ways to train, or they're just different ways that you can consume calories and nutrients. However, they put a unique spin on it, which is a unique mechanism that no one else has. That stands out, and that seems to be to most people something that they want to explore, because maybe that's the reason why they haven't achieved that success yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So for us, like early on, we started building mechanisms around all the things that we do. So everything that we do has like a method, a methodology, a process, a system that we can literally swipe and deploy for our clients and execute for them. But also when people go, well, what's the difference between you and XYZ agency? Yeah, I just show them. I'm like, this is what we have. This is what we've created. This is what we do. It's like, they're like, oh, like how much should we spend on ads and how much should we advertise? And we're going to ask you and all these other agencies. And I was like, great. Do you know what cycle of advertising you're in? And then they're like, what's that? I was like, oh, something that I developed across the last 7 years and 15 years of being online is cycle of advertising. Here it is. Bang, bang, bang. Here are the 3 parts. This is where you are. This is what you need to do next. This is the next stage, because based on that cycle is what we need to do next. And then they're like, oh. And then I was like, go and see if any of those other people will be able to identify that. And they won't, because I created it. I came up with it.
Yeah.
Saying we have our M3 protocol, which is like the process that we take people through from start to finish. There's 9 different stages that they have to go through to be able to build a advertising machine. Again, we break that down. We're the only people that do that. So that, again, it took a little while to develop and to create those components. But after doing that, that's when we were able to really kind of pull those things apart and create that unique process for ourselves and then for our clients as well. And now it's like, even that is becoming saturated. So then it's really comes down to the next level after that is about personalization. It's like really tying into how specifically we can have people identify as we are their sort of people, right? And that what I mean by that is like the best example of that is something like Apple. Like if you're an Apple person, you don't get it because Apple is the best technology or anything like that, right? Like there's much better and faster phones, much better and faster computers. But people that have Apple products, they're Apple people, right? They're the ones that wait in line for days to try and get the new Apple iPhone. And so it's not any better than anything else. But because you're an Apple person, because it's for the crazy ones, you know, that's like they have their ethos of who it's for. That's what happens. And when you have the personalization, people go, I want to work with them because they're like that. So that's like the next evolution that we're going through at the moment is really
building
defining
a movement.
That. Yeah, exactly.
Like a tribe. Awesome, man. That's amazing, man. I like it. Damn. You just gave me like a whole new. All right. So then like building modern gentlemen. That's amazing. So, so like, you know, like podcasting, you know, like there's thousands of people that does podcasting, but there's no one that has the cloak track.
Yeah.
That's my unique mechanism. Like that's a word that I invented. Right. But it does mean something. Well, it doesn't, but it does. Right. And, so yeah, I like that, man. So how are you building? I'm so interested in that, man. How are you building this tribe, right? How are you getting people to identify themselves with your brand?
Yeah, so we did a big event over here in Australia, which was called Certified Ballers Live. So I'm a big fan of that phrase. I kind of came up with it and created it, and it's something that I like. And because the way that I like to look at it is that if you are someone who has similar likes, interests, and whatnot to me, then like we're going to get along really well, and you're probably going to like what I've got to talk about. So for me, that's why I created that. And you can see I've got like, you know, some signed basketballs behind me and stuff like that as well. Things that I think are cool. So I know, especially in the US, like a baller sometimes is like someone who plays ball, whether it be basketball, football, whatever. But for me, it's like being a baller is someone who has the ultimate, like you mentioned before, the freedom and choice to do what they want. They know what they are about from a physical perspective, from a mental perspective, from their business perspective, and they want to achieve the best for themselves. Not necessarily do they have to work the hardest to do that, but they know that they want to achieve the best. They want to make a positive impact. And that to me is what a baller is. So a lot of our messaging, like our Facebook community, is certified ballers. something that we wanted to do and drive and help and encourage people to be, so that, you know, they use that terminology. Another phrase that we use a lot is about becoming a mogul. So baller and mogul are kind of similar in the
Nice.
vein for us, but mogul really relates to their like advertising persona versus their actually who they are. So the advertising persona to be a mogul is someone who is very, like, the technical like dictionary definition is a very well-known character, normally from on screen, right? So like Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, like TV, movies, things like that. And what we like to do is help people position themselves as the mogul of their industry, the only real choice, via advertising, via their marketing systems, so that when people go, I want to start a podcast to amplify my message, like, who would they speak to? The only choice is Alex. That's what our goal is from that perspective, so that they have, you know, these personas that they can tap into to help them scale their message online.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. I love it. So like ClickFunnels, right? We are funnel builders, so funnel hackers, right?
Yeah.
That's the identity that they give, that, you know, that a lot of their clients have. Gary J. White, I don't know if you're familiar with who Gary J. White is, with the warrior, right? Wake up warrior, warriors, right? The King's Council, kings, right? Yeah, that's awesome. I like that. So tell me about your mogul mastermind.
Yeah, so that's basically where we bring all those people together, like the people that we believe that are the true ballers and moguls of their industries, and we help them grow and scale. So we bring them together. We bring in the best of the best. Up until recently, it's been pretty much all digital, because in Australia we've been pretty heavily locked down because of all the craziness in the world, and now we're just opening back up again. So we bring people together. I come and share marketing strategies, and then depending on what people need the most, I bring in the best in the world that I can tap into from my network, whether it be sales, marketing, business growth, finances, whatever it is from those perspectives, and just bring in people that I know that tangibly can make a big difference. We've had a couple of billionaires come through and share strategies. We've had some of the best salespeople, like Eli Wild, who's Tony Robbins' #1 sales guy. Things like that, just come and share strategies that these guys can literally take, apply to their business, and get phenomenal results with. And we all, we come together once a quarter, connect, make sure that everyone's on track, help solve whatever problems it is that they have collectively, which is what I think a mastermind truly should be, which is, a relatively small group coming together, collectively using their minds masterfully, right? The definition, to help each other solve problems. And because, most people, like, unless you're probably Elon Musk, like, most people don't have a problem that there isn't a solution to.
Yeah.
Someone's probably had your problem
Elon
and
Musk,
solved it. Yeah. Like, unless you're putting people on Mars, like, probably most of us have a problem that someone's already solved.
Yeah, exactly. Man, I really like the idea of like building this tribe and building this like movement, because like you mentioned mogul right now, right? So you were like, we only get people in who we really believe they're the moguls of their industry. And then I instantly got this feeling and this thought of like trying to prove myself to you of, yeah, man, I'm a mogul. I should be part of this, right? So that's really cool. And and I got that thought, like it was a trigger. It was like I did it, I reacted to that. And then I instantly, flipped the switch and I became aware of it. And I was like, holy crap, like, damn, right? Like if you have an identity, you can tell anyone, hey man, like, no, like we only accept modern gentlemen. So like, prove to me why you're a modern gentleman. Then they start proving to yourself why they would be a modern gentleman and why they would be a good fit to be part of your mastermind and program. I just had that amazing insight, man.
Yeah.
Like, how much is that worth? Who knows, right? Damn. Yeah. I like it. So when so you have your mastermind, you speak, are you thinking about writing a book or something like that?
Yeah, I've written a few like little books before, just from a technical perspective, but because as well, like I do want to go and do some more kind of like I won't say old school, but like applying some of the old school techniques to the current world. Rather than like things I've written in the past have been more technical from a Facebook perspective, which changes all the time. So it kind of frustrated me. So I remember I wrote a book, put it on Amazon ages ago, and then realized like within like 3 months that some of the stuff I was talking about was already outdated.
Yeah.
So, they'd already removed it or changed it. And I was like, oh, this is frustrating. So
Mm-hmm.
I do have, like I've got a lot of clients that help people write books and things like that. And they're like, yeah, we've got to get a book going for you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, I was like, when I'm in the headspace and ready to, like, I'll definitely put something together, but I want to have something that is like will stand the test of time, that I don't have to do like
Evergreen.
here's like the next version of. So it's I want to put something together that's quite robust and
Yeah.
And then just make it good, and then I don't have to be like, oh man, I need to do like version 2, version 3 of that just to try and keep up with all the changes that happen.
That would be crazy, man. So talking about how fast everything changes. So like tell us a little bit about, what's going on in the like digital marketing world with like Facebook ads and TikTok ads and like all of this different stuff that is going on. So yeah, I just want to know your thoughts. You're much more dove no. Well, into it than I guess me and everyone else listening. So I would love to hear your thoughts, man.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing, like you mentioned originally, like we call it the NOC method, niche offer copy. Like if you get that right, any platform will always be able to perform for you. Like it will always be able to be successful. But a lot of people these days are using, and it's funny, like I mentioned before, the levels of sophistication, which one of them is like poking holes in other platforms. People say Facebook ads don't work, you need to do YouTube. YouTube ads don't work, you need to do TikTok and whatnot. And that's just like literally a version of what you need to do as markets sophisticate and grow. So for me, like there's plenty of good opportunity out there. It just depends on what platform you are best on as to which one you should double down on. Like for me, I always think that Facebook is still probably the easiest to navigate, easiest to test on. And you can use obviously still images versus video, etc. But if you're really good on video, if you're someone who is charismatic, who can follow an overarching like script and process, then YouTube and TikTok I think can be super powerful for people if you know how to use the right creative on those platforms. TikTok though, for me, I found from the tests that we've done is like if you're someone who wants to generate leads rather than like an e-commerce business trying to make sales, the leads quality is not the best. Like their targeting and refinement is not the best just yet. You can still get leads for very cheap. So if you just want to build a tremendously huge database, like it's definitely a good platform. But for me, Facebook, Instagram, they still have the best result for us from that perspective. And that's just because we look at it from a perspective of ourselves, but also our clients. Not every client wants to get on video and do a YouTube video or hire an actor to do a YouTube video. The best reach you can get and interaction we can get is still Facebook and Instagram, because like we want people to, we don't have to, you have to do this to grow your business. And it's like, well, no, you don't have to.
Yeah.
You can still grow your business, generate leads, inquiries, sales without having to be on camera or, dancing in reels and stuff like that. It's still possible.
All right. So man, I want to ask you, about like your thoughts on like the changes with, what's going on with like a Meta and all of that. But before I do, can you repeat the, like the process? I think it was a 3-step process, like the fundamentals of that you could use in any platform. Copy, something else.
Niche offer copy. So for me, it's like the niche, which is articulating and being very specific on the audience you have. The offer, which is similar to what you mentioned before, but I would liken it to the offer for the ad. So not like your end offer that you're actually selling them. It's like, cool, if we have a lead magnet, if we have something specific that we're getting someone to download or to book a call or whatever our first step in that process is, needs to be very clear, because most people don't know what the objective of an ad is.
Yeah.
They think that the objective of an ad is to sell their product. That's not the case. The objective of an ad is to sell the click. It's all it's got to do is get you to take the first next step, which is click on the ad. Then you're going to go to the landing page, or then you're going to go to the sales page, or then you're going to go to the lead form, whatever it might be. The only goal it has is to do that, not to try and sell the product, not to try and make someone be willing to buy right then and there. Like that's further down. That's next step's job to do. So I think a lot of people get confused by that. So that's why our offer is very in that NOC method is very specific to us. Like we need to make sure that you're taking the right next step, and where our offer for you to do that is compelling enough. And then copy is like, what words are we using? to articulate that to encourage someone to take that step.
Yeah. Yeah. So like if you get those fundamentals all right, niche, offer, copy, you can literally go like to any platform and then adapt. Obviously there's going to be like an adaptation process and a learning curve, but you'll make it work. But if you understand those fundamentals, which is the niche, offer, copy. Awesome. I love that, man. So what are your thoughts on the current changes that are going on right now with like Meta and everything?
Yeah, I mean, like the big changes is that, like, I think that Facebook was always trying to think, now Meta trying to think a few steps ahead. So they're just positioning themselves for what I think will come out in the next 3-5 years. There's not really been a huge ton of changes apart from that fact being that they do want to position themselves as like they have a parent company which oversees several of these arms. Like, they already own Oculus Rift and things like that, which are already playing in the obviously VR space. So I think that with people thinking about metaverse and all these other sorts of things that have been coming out lately, it only makes sense for them to kind of like rebrand to get ahead of what's coming. And then, they'll start to make those changes over the next couple of years. But pretty much like there hasn't been a ton of crazy changes. But I think it's more kind of preceding what's to come in the next couple of years.
So like there's a bit of uncertainty. How do you feel about that uncertainty and how are you preparing?
For me, it's like, again, as long as you have belief in what you're doing and the fundamentals, like there's not going to be that much of a problem. Because if if you can adapt to technology and things as they move, then you'll always be able to stay in front of it, ahead of the curve. But if you're just sitting on your hands and being like, oh, things are not going to change, like, no, obviously they're changing. Like you can see from the spaces of like cryptocurrencies and NFTs and like, Sandbox developing these metaverse worlds and things like that. Like stay abreast of it, stay in front of it, keep an understanding that things are going to change. Like the only certain thing is change. So you have to kind of be okay with that and be willing to understand that. And if you do, then you'll be set up for success. The worst thing to do would be like, oh, it's not going to cause anything to be different. It's like, well, no, the only thing that can happen is for something different to occur.
Yeah. The only certainty is that there's no certainty.
Exactly.
Life is uncertain, right? Like you could literally walk down the street and be ran over by a car. Like you don't know. So like there's uncertainty is all there is. So yeah, you got to be willing to learn, grow, evolve, and adapt to whatever is coming, man. Yeah, I like it. So man, we have a few minutes, and I always end my interviews with 5 questions, which I would love to ask. Is that okay?
Please.
The first one is, this is not the first one, but how old are you, man? I'm just curious.
33.
Awesome. Damn, you're young. So, yeah, the first question is, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self if you could?
I always jokingly answer this because I like crypto. I'm like, buy Bitcoin. That's what I would tell myself. But a more like realistic answer is just to, is to prepare for that, is to be comfortable getting uncomfortable, is to be willing to put yourself into those uncertain positions, because that's where growth occurs. Like it's very easy to not do that. So that would be the one, is like just to reinforce that, because I don't think I really got that probably till I was like 25 when I started making big changes. And before that, I was just happy just doing what I was doing. So that'd probably be the answer to that one.
That's a great advice, man. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. So like continuously put yourself in uncomfortable situations. Yeah, got it. Exactly. The next question is around mindset. So what is a mindset shift that you've had that you can share that you think has contributed to your success?
The mindset shift that I would share is that any way in which we act and operate and feel is a choice. So it's like you could wake up every day and choose to feel terrible, which is fine, or you could choose to be happy, right? And you could choose to be appreciative of what's going on, and you could choose to feel gratitude for where you are and what you do. Like you have that as a choice. So for me, giving yourself that ability to be like, okay, well, how do I choose to feel? And look, yes, I understand, like things happen and like people pass away, bad things happen, and you can allow yourself to feel that for a little while, of course. But then after that initial point, if you continue to choose to feel it that way, it is a choice.
Yeah. Man, and so many people don't know that, right? Like they get caught up in the like how can I say, like the virtual reality, the like illusion that they don't have a choice. victim to their circumstances and to like what's happening out there, reacting to stuff instead of being like, you know what, no, like I choose whether this affects me or not.
Exactly. And look, it is hard. And I know that there are people that go through very, very tough things and they'll be like, I can't. But look, you definitely can. But I'm not saying that it's like instantaneous. Like you do have to do work on it to make that happen. And like I always remember, like Zig Ziglar was a huge, influence on my personal development journey. I remember there was like an old audio of him, and every day he would get asked how he was, and everyone's like, "How you doing today?" And his response, which I always kind of try to emulate, was that he says, "The worst day I ever had was a semi-terrific day." So like for me, it's like if that's the worst sort of day you have, yes, there's many bad things that can happen, but you can choose to still have, the clouds with silver lining, even if it's raining, there's still something that you could be grateful for, appreciative for, enjoy, in the time we're recording this, there's crazy things going on in the world. Like I'm grateful that I'm not there. I could still have a very tough day and have client problems and staff problems and things like that, but I'm not in the middle of a war zone. So I can't complain,
Mm-hmm. And it's simple, but it is hard. It requires discipline. It requires awareness, and it requires like a constant practice, right? Because you can make it a habit, right? I'm at the point, man, in which I don't see problems. Like I just see opportunities to find solutions. And that something very tragic happened right now in my family, and I don't act. I get like, how can I explain this? I can't find the word, but like I'm seeing as if I didn't care just because I'm not sad or crying, but it's not like that, right? Like there's like, it's not going to solve, like crying and being sad and being depressed is not going to solve anything. So
exactly. And you can choose to go through those emotions in certain times and then choose to be able to keep doing what you're doing in other times as well.
Yeah. Great insight, man. Yeah. For anyone listening, take that seriously. Like it's your choice. You are in control. The next question is mindset map. Do you have any insights, any tactic, strategy, tool, piece of advice for people who may lack or need some clarity for their life?
I mean, it's going to sound weird, but the big thing about clarity is like most people haven't sat down to try and get it.
Yeah.
Like I don't have clarity, and it's like, well, like when's the last time you sat down to think about what you actually wanted? Like most people don't do that. So if you can sit down and do, and that's because sometimes it might seem like too far away or too hard to do or whatever it is. And I always say is that you've got to take like a blank piece of paper, sit there and be like, what do I actually want without limitations? With like if you're like a horse with blinkers on, like without taking in all the preconceived beliefs that you may have or may not have. Like you just need to go, great, like ideally, and then write it down. Then you can figure out the pathways to be able to achieve that. But don't try and start at the end where you're like, oh, I've got this goal that I have, and then like, how did I get there? That's not how you do it.
Yeah,
that's not the way to start.
You break it down and then you chunk it into smaller pieces, right? Man, exactly. It's like I was like this because like it's so refreshing just listening to you talk about how simple it is, right? Maybe it's not easy, but it's simple. Like literally, like if you don't have clarity, you don't know what you want. Well, have you sat down and asked yourself what you want and taken time to write it down? That is, yeah. Ah, man, it's so refreshing. Thanks. Mindset map motion. So what is a habit that you have that you think has contributed to your success? One habit.
I would probably say training, definitely. Like going to the gym. I used to do jiu-jitsu a lot until I hurt my back. But taking those times out where it's like you're not thinking about anything, because if you are thinking about something, you're probably going to hurt yourself. Right. If you're going in the gym and deadlifting a very heavy weight, or if you're in jiu-jitsu and you're rolling against someone in a competition, like if you think about other things, like you will get hurt. Right. It's
well, so you can because you're thinking about surviving.
Exactly. You're just like, cool, make sure that I'm not going to bulge out a disc in my back. It's like, no, perfect. You can make sure that you're focused and attentive there. So to me, I think making time for that, which means that there's a specific time where I can't think about other things, like is probably one of the most important ones for me.
Awesome. Mindset map, motion, measure. The last thing, you're a marketing guy. So, I'm curious to know your thoughts on this one. Measure. What do you think about measuring and tracking?
Yeah, I think it's hugely important. It's like what gets, I think it's Peter Drucker that had to say, I think it's like what gets measured, what gets managed can be optimized and improved. So it's like, if you don't want to improve anything, then cool, don't track it. Like for me, I wear like an Aura ring, which means I track my sleep, I track my performance, I track my calories, all those things, because I want to improve in that area. I look at my business's profit and loss, balance sheets, etc., all the time, because I want to improve it. If you don't want to improve it, then by all means, don't track it. But yeah, there's no problem with not doing it. But if you have an area of your life that you want to improve and you don't track and measure it, then you're setting yourself up for failure. But if you're happy with it, then by all means, like, let it run rampant. You don't have to do anything. But if you want to improve it, like, you must, like, in my eyes, if you want to get better at marketing and your marketing numbers, but you can't tell me what your cost per lead is, your cost per sale is, average day from lead to sale, etc. And it's like, cool, then you don't care about it enough to do that, which is fine. But don't then complain that you're not achieving what you want.
Yeah. All right. And if you want money, you got to get those four right: mindset, map, motion, measure, money. Right. So, man, I've had an amazing time. It was so refreshing, like, just to, hear you talk about fundamentals. It was really awesome. I had a lot of fun. So if people want to know more about, like, your marketing system and everything that you got going on, the fundamentals that you share, your content, your mastermind events, all of that, where can they go and find more of you, your content, and all of that, man?
Obviously, we've got our website, which is yoursocialvoice.com.au. I always hang around on Instagram. So Instagram, I'm real Kim Barret. You can find me there. And then we also have a Facebook community where I go live every single week. I share all our content in there. We share our events in there. And if you want to find that Facebook group, you can just go to www.joinmygroup.com.au. And that has a link directly straight into our Facebook group. And you can connect with us there.
Awesome. We'll add all of that wherever this appears, man. I've had a lot of fun. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. And have an amazing rest of your day, bro.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Cheers.
Bye-bye. Thank you for watching the Gentleman's Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with one friend, leave us a comment, and let us know. 99% of people never leave a review or comment, but we love and are very thankful with the 1% of you who do. If there's something or someone you want to see on this podcast, send me a message on Instagram at Alex_Ramirez1020 and let me know. As a thank you for that, I have an amazing surprise for each and every one of you who does take the time to leave us a comment or review on YouTube or one of the major podcasting platforms